Hey everybody, Bobby here. Sorry, I'm just tweeting out the space. Today we're going to talk about how to become a paid speaker and how to land a TEDx talk this year. And if you are just joining me today, thanks so much for being here. If you can hear me, feel free to just wave your hand so I know that you're here. I always love to get the reactions of Twitter spaces. So let me know below if you can actually hear me. So throw in a heart, throw in a high. There we go. Oh, good. Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate that. All right, good. So it looks like you're here, and I appreciate that. We're talking today. This is the weekly Power of Connection Twitter space that I run, and I didn't do it last week because I was away on vacation at a cottage. And this week I'm here again, and then I'm actually gone again for another week. Actually, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. I'm going to Costa Rica with my wife for 9 days, so I'm going to miss 2 Mondays in a row. But I wanted to be here to be able to welcome you and be part of this conversation and continue to serve some of you awesome folks to the stuff that I'm talking about. The weekly Power Connection chats are all about creating deeper relationships, deeper connections, deeper communities. It's also about building your personal brand, connection with yourself. It's about thought leadership brand, connection with others. It's about your digital marketing space, anything to build your thought leadership brand, to build a clear personal brand for clarity, and also to build relationships. That's what I focus on. And so today I'm going to talk about becoming a paid speaker and also landing a TEDx talk this year because I believe every single one of you can land a TEDx talk. It's just a question of the strategy, the story, the tactics, the topics and titles, and what you need to do. And maybe some of you already have like a TEDx idea. If you do, come up on stage. I want to actually invite you to come up on stage and share your TEDx talk idea because if you have a TEDx talk idea or you want to do paid speaking, I'd love to have you come on stage and share your thoughts because I want to give you feedback on your idea or what you're trying to do. And of course, if you want to come on stage just to share the conversation, whether you want to ask a question or whether you want to share expertise or you want to be part of the conversation. I love to have people on stage to be part of the conversation. It shouldn't just be me talking for the most part. I really want to hear other people's voices and stories and what they're working on. So if you want to come on stage, just put your hand up and I'm happy to bring you up on stage here. I would love to have you talk about that. In the meantime, I'm going to start with my introduction and then I'll get into a little bit of the topic. So my name is Bobby Omar. I'm a professional speaker by trade for the last 17 years. I've spoken around the world and I've done over 1,000 keynotes and workshops on across 4 continents on topics of leadership, personal branding, digital marketing, building relationships, authentic connection, and of course, social media. And for me, it's a big part of what I do. I certainly have a large thought leadership brand out there from a digital presence, with over 500,000 followers on Twitter, and I have 70,000 followers on LinkedIn and 28,000 on Instagram. And so I use that influence to share my message, to help people to get their message out there, to help people get clarity on their brand, their voice, and their purpose, and then help them build that thought leadership brand through relationship building meaningful relationships, LinkedIn, Twitter, Clubhouse, Instagram, help them with networking, help them with content creation, help them with storytelling, help them with their mindset and their confidence to take their brand to that next level. Because once you have a thought leadership brand, then the magic happens because you can influence industry, you can influence policy, you can influence many people to get opportunities to speak, to get opportunities to share your knowledge, to get opportunities to get a book or do a TEDx talk and get paid speaking. So that's really what today's all about. And that's kind of what I do. I help people with that. So in terms of, becoming a paid speaker on a TEDx talk, I think the number one thing that a lot of people struggle with is they don't really know what their TEDx talk idea is. And it also relates to the paid speaking thing. If you want to become a paid speaker, most people don't really understand what their topics should be and how those topics relate to the audience of those who are going to hire you to come to a TEDx event or to hire you to speak and pay you for your services. And so it really starts with your personal brand story, your speaker story. What is your speaker story of who you are, what you're all about, and what are you trying to learn? And it really starts from there. A lot of people need the time to figure that stuff out, but they also work with a coach like myself or with programs to figure that stuff out. Because when I work with people on paid speaking or TEDx talks, it's always a question of, okay, what's your story? What's your brand? Who's your target? Why do they care? And then put that together so I can actually help you get those TED Talks and those paid speaking gigs. And again, if you're liking the conversation, I invite you to share this. So you click the blue button on the bottom right, and you can share this with the world. Tweet it out there. You can also DM folks to be part of it. If you are going to tweet it, I would encourage you to please tag me and maybe put a one liner like, "Hey, join this space to learn about speaking and TEDx talks" or something like that. Use the hashtag Power of Connection. Use the hashtag public speaking. Whatever you want. And if you tag me on it, that's good because then I'll see it in my feed. I'll be able to retweet it to my 500,000 followers, and then more people come in here and more people follow your profile. So I think it's a win-win. And I'd love to have you be part of that. So come on stage, ask your questions, share your TEDx talk idea, share your paid speaker ideas of what you want to do, and I will give you feedback on how to hone it, how to focus it, and how to make it work for you. And I'm going to share a link on top in a moment where I'm actually doing a workshop that's free on August 10th, where I'm going to take people through my own workshop on how to land a TEDx talk and how to leverage your thought leadership brand to become an iconic CEO. With that, I see that Sunpark's here. So, Sunpark, I'd love to get you to share your thoughts. So, welcome to the stage. How are you?
Thank you so much, Bobby. Always a pleasure to connect with you. So, and it's an absolute wonderful topic that you're talking about, considering that public speaking is something that uh, holds back a lot of people, and they're very inhibited about it. And I just wanted to share my couple of cents on how I went into getting paid speaking gigs and even land that TEDx talk. I started with a lot of free sessions that I did for colleges and for students, which over a couple of years helped me build my portfolio across. You can obviously try and test, etc. And colleges and educational institutions are more than happy to have industry professionals come in. And with that, you build that portfolio up. Once you have all the brands there, you can obviously then start pitching it across even to corporate seminars, summits, etc. And once you're doing it, for me, LinkedIn was the platform of choice. I started putting up my sessions that I was doing, photographs, etc., which landed me my TEDx talk. So yeah, that's my journey. Over 6 years, I've been able to do close to 150 odd sessions, and I truly agree to every point that you mentioned. Thank you so much for having me, Bob. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, those are fantastic ideas. I mean, one of the best ways to become a speaker and also to get a TEDx talk is to showcase your ability, right? So, what are you doing to get out there to let people know, here's who I am, here's my message, here's what I talk about, here's how I talk. I mean, one of the things I tell people when they want to become a speaker or or a TEDx speaker is to have a video reel of you speaking on stage and have that as part of your portfolio. And when you are actually pitching for speaking gigs or pitching for a TEDx talk, do a video pitch because people want to see your personality. They want to see how you fit with what you're talking about. And if you're the right personality for them, that's going to go a long way to making an impact. So when you do a lot of those speaking gigs out there that are, where you volunteer, hey, I'm going to do an open mic, or I'm going to come up on stage and be part of this event, or I'm going to offer to be part of this panel, because then people hear you speak and they see they hear your knowledge and they get impressed by that, and also you're building relationships with people. I mean, I'll tell you one thing, which a lot of people don't know, is that the first 4 TEDx talks that I did, so I've done 5 TEDx talks, and I was invited to do. I've actually been invited to 8 of them, but I rejected 3 for various reasons, which I'm happy to answer in a question if people want to know why. But I got those because I had a strong thought leadership brand. People saw me speak. People saw me out there. They knew who I was, and they'd heard me speak, and they wanted to bring me in. And so, because of my strong brand, and because they heard me speak, they said, "Yeah, we know you. We want you to come out to this event." And so I did, and I spoke at the first TEDx event. And the funny thing is, the first time I heard about TEDx, I didn't even know what it was. I was like, "What is this thing?" And then I looked it up. I was like, holy moly! There's a lot of people, famous people, and well-known people who've spoken at TEDx. And I was like, well, I guess I better do this thing. And I should admit that I was pretty nervous the first time I did my TEDx talk. I was really nervous, but it went well. And from that, I was able to leverage it into building a paid speaking career for myself. So I love Sun Park's advice on just going to events, offering to speak, build those relationships. It goes a long way. And anytime there is an event, I ran an event a couple weeks ago called LinkedIn Local Toronto, and there was an open mic session, right? And a couple people went up, and they had 2 minutes, right? But they went up and they made an impression. There was a couple people like, oh, that was a great 2 minutes that you did. That's a chance for you to make an impression on people. So always volunteer to do those things, okay? And just and if you are shy about it, or you're not sure you have the right message, then work with a coach or talk to somebody or figure it out. Come up with your 2 minute pitch or 2 minute story, whatever it might be. To talk, and you can come on stage and give me your 1 minute pitch about who you are and what you're all about, because that makes a big difference. I started off this whole chat talking about what I did for a living and how I help people, and you have to be able to practice that thing over and over and over again. So we're talking about how to become a paid speaker, how to land a TEDx talk this year, and I'm already working with people on doing this specifically. So I ran a speaker mastermind group. I've also ran a TEDx boot camp, and I'm helping people get those speaking gigs and those TEDx talks. And I'm doing another workshop on August 10th, which is up there in the nest. You'll see it there with Carlos Adele. That's on August 10th. It's free. So if you want to get access to that training, just click on the link and just say yes to it in the LinkedIn event that we have there. I see we have another person on stage. It's Chris. Chris, welcome to the stage. Did you want to share a thought or ask a question? Welcome to the stage.
Thank you very much for the work you do and your passion and commitment to raising better speakers and more speakers. We've had the opportunity of being world record holders, and my desire is be able to come into any corporate space, organization, and work with the staff and be able to raise their performance to peak level at all times. So I'm looking forward to being able to grace the TED Talk platform and share that with corporate leaders so that one has the opportunity to spread this idea that every one of your staff is a genius but operating at 4 times below their optimal level. Thank you very much. Welcome any advice on my journey.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. I appreciate it, Chris. I mean, I think the one thing that I'll say is that, there's a lot of people out there that are pitching themselves as speakers, as trainers. They want to go into corporations or go into organizations to help them out and share their knowledge. I think that what's really important is to be really clear on, what you talk about, why you talk about it, what's your cred or credibility or experience or education behind what you're talking about, and then most importantly, what's the benefit for them for bringing you in. A lot of times I've seen a lot of speaker sheets. People create speaker sheets or they have websites, but it's not really clear, or they have a LinkedIn profile, but it's not really clear why someone would benefit from them being hiring you or bringing you in. And so I think that's an important thing that has to be clear. The second thing I'll say is that every single one of you that's here that wants to be a speaker or wants to get on a TEDx talk, I would highly advise you, what are you doing to build a thought leadership brand, right? Are you putting content out there? Are you making videos? I did a video workshop just last Saturday on the 23rd, because a lot of people don't make videos. It's interesting. Like, you look at LinkedIn, for example. On LinkedIn, only 2 to 3% of people create consistent content on there. And of that 2 or 3%, only like 1 to 2% create video content. And video content is one of the best ways to really, show your personality, show yourself as a speaker, to get the attention of TEDx organizers, as well as paid speaking organizers, whether it's conferences or companies. And so you need to be putting video content out there consistently. I know Indra's down there, and I know she does a lot of video content. That's really, really important. You got to put that stuff out there and be speaking. So, whether you have LinkedIn or Instagram or YouTube or even here, what are you doing to put content out there? Constantly be putting content out there, sharing your knowledge, sharing your expertise so people know who you are. Because a lot of people, they don't do that, and we don't know who you are. And so if I want to hire you as a speaker, like, if I don't know who you are, that's going to be hard for me to want to even make that connection. So, for you, Chris, if you're trying to do this and get all those opportunities to speak, I think that I'd like to see, what are you doing out there? Are you sharing video content on Twitter? Are you sharing video content on YouTube? Are you sharing it on Instagram, LinkedIn? I mean, another thing to keep in mind too is when you think about where's your target, right? Where's your target audience, right? So, are you going to, I've gotten speaking gigs from people who go to LinkedIn and from people who go to Twitter. So the other question I would ask you is, where are the people? Where are the people that you target? Because not most people aren't everywhere. Like, so for example, if I want to target NFT people, I go to Twitter because everyone in the NFT space is here. If I want to target healthcare, for example, Twitter is better than LinkedIn because a lot of healthcare providers and experts don't do LinkedIn very much because for privacy and policy regulations, whatever it might be, but they don't usually do it. So they usually hear those sharing knowledge. And so this is a great place to engage people in the healthcare industry. In fact, I've built relationships with people in the healthcare industry over the last couple of years, particularly during the pandemic, because I follow a lot of people. I love their work. I see Brigitta's here, and I love her work too, and I follow her stuff and retweet her stuff all the time and I've met many amazing people out there who are doing some great work, and they're all here, and so I've built relationships. So if I wanted to focus on healthcare, I'd probably start using relationships I have on Twitter to start talking to these people. Say, hey, there are opportunities for me to speak and help them with their LinkedIn strategy or their personal branding or their video content strategy, whatever it might be. So I think that's an important piece. Your target audience will determine where you should spend the majority of your time. So if you're targeting corporate people, then you should be developing something on LinkedIn. And let me ask you, Chris, are you using LinkedIn? Because it sounds like you're targeting corporate. Are you using LinkedIn to share your expertise and knowledge?
Oh, yes, indeed. I'm as active on LinkedIn as you can imagine. I'm there every single day and also making contributions to topical issues as well. Thank you.
Awesome. That's great. Glad to hear that. I see now that Indra's on stage. Indra, welcome. I'd love to hear your thoughts or any contribution or a question you want to ask today.
Hello, Bobby, and thank you so much for inviting me to speak. You always hold such wonderful spaces. Well, first of all, I wanted to say I really enjoyed doing your TEDx course with you. I had the opportunity to do that through the Medici community, and it was wonderful because the thing is, even though I do speak public and I do have a lot of hosting opportunities as a TV host and as a producer, the thing that is really important is that we need to keep brushing up. We need to go back and polish. And so I really found it helpful that I did your course. And it just reminded me also, because I mean, a lot of things that you talk about also relate to where and how we should be presenting ourselves. And so I did do quite a bit of tweaking on my LinkedIn profile and gave it kind of a fresher look. So thank you so much for that. And just the course was really enjoyable. And
And sorry, let me interrupt first by saying I did not pay her to say these things. Okay, but thank you for that.
no, you did not. But you have my email address, so just cash is great. Cash is king. So go ahead. No, you didn't pay me, but I think my point is that even as a very polished speaker, I really garnered from just listening to a lot of things that Bobby had because sometimes we forget those things and it's just really good to bring those things to the forefront as well. So I enjoyed doing your course, Bobby.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for that, Indra. I really appreciate it. And yeah, so I think that even if you're an accomplished speaker or you're a confident speaker, even the truth is a lot of people still don't know how to focus their profile, their story, their brand, their targeting, their messaging to get the TEDx talk, to get the paid speaking gigs. I've had a couple people who actually took my speaker program, how to become a paid speaker, right? And they've been actually technically professional speakers for 5+ years. But the results they were getting were not as good because they weren't able to create the strong thought leadership brand for themselves. They weren't able to position themselves in a way that got people's attention. And the other thing that comes into play that a lot of people don't realize is the mindset issue, right? We all have a mindset issue around how much we charge and what to do. So someone else will say, "Yeah, I'll do a 1 hour keynote and I charge $300." Another person will say, "I do 3,000." Another person will say, "It's 10,000." And I've seen on both ends where one person was charging way too much beyond her expertise and what she should be getting, and she was surprised that no one would bite. And I was like, "Well," I said, "if you want my assessment, like I think you're way overcharging based on your experience and what I see. Like I wouldn't pay for you for that much." And other people They charge way less. I'm like, whoa, you're charging $300? Like, come on, like you can go way more than that. Again, based on your experience. A lot of it depends on your experience and what you've done. So, for example, I mean, if you're an astronaut, you went to the moon, and you come back and you want to speak, you can charge good dollars because people will pay a lot for that. Whereas if you came third place in your local state race in track and field, that's not good enough. Okay, that's not enough to like charge. Now, if you won the gold medal at the Olympics, okay, now we're talking. But if you're third place in the local 100-meter dash, that's not good enough. So you have to like be mindful of exactly knowing your expertise and knowing your value, and you put that out there. And if you're getting bookings, you can start charging more than you realize. So I think that's a journey a lot of people have to have, and a lot of people struggle with also, how do I pitch it? How do I get it specifically? The other thing that's interesting is that a lot of people who are professional speakers, like for 5 to 10 years, they still don't know how to get a TEDx talk because the pitch is different. How you pitch a TEDx talk is different than the pitch for paid speaking gigs. The difference is because you're looking at the culture of TED's a little bit different. So with TED, they're looking for people to share big ideas, and they're looking for people to share one unique idea, and it's a shorter talk, right? So you could pitch a 3, 6, 12, or 18-minute talk, but that's it. That's the max. And the organization, TEDx by their very nature doesn't pay speakers. So you're doing it for branding. You're doing it. It's like getting a book deal or media appearance. Having a TEDx talk is as powerful as having your own book or having your own program. So that's why TEDx talks are so powerful for your brand, because as soon as you have a TEDx talk, you can also command greater dollars for your speaking, your paid speaking. So it's important to like think about that, and know how to pitch towards the TEDx folks and what they like. Now, if anybody has questions specifically to either becoming a paid speaker or to landing a TEDx talk, or you want to share your TEDx ideas, or you want to share your speaker pitch of what you do, and you want my feedback, I encourage you to come on stage and take advantage of this, because I'm here and I'm happy to help all of you who are in the audience paying attention. And for those who are paying attention, I do appreciate those who have retweeted the link, people who have been sharing this space with folks. We get more people in the room. I do appreciate that. So I'm happy to take people on stage if they have questions. With that, Indra or Chris or Sampark, if you have any specific questions or anything you maybe want to maybe talk about in terms of our topic, I'm happy to just unmic and share your thoughts.
Sure, Bobby. I've got actually a lot of thoughts on this. I think the thing that really came across to me is when I was looking back even over at my notes from doing the course, was just the simplicity of how you break down some things. And I think we can all really complicate some of the simple processes in starting with even just reviewing, our brand and what is the communication that is being sent out, on the different platforms. And also, it was interesting when you also covered the area about uh, social media platforms and which one will actually, work for you and which ones to focus on more, depending on what your brand is. And for some of us, we're spreading ourselves really thin across, but not being really effective. So I also found that very helpful as well, that you've got a lot of experience in that area. And so that's when I, realized that, well, actually, I'm spending maybe too much time on some of the other platforms that aren't as being, specific and useful to what I'm doing, and I need to do more time over on this particular platform. And that probably might be different for everybody, as you had mentioned. So I thought that was really valuable as well, that you sort of do a bit of a deep dive into some specific areas that, I mean, I sort of took them for granted, I guess, the simplicity of it.
Yeah, I think it's important. That's a great point, Indra. I think it's important for people to know, where they can leverage social media, where they can actually leverage the thought leadership brand. And I talk about that a lot. Most people say focus on one area. And I understand that philosophy to a point. And, we all have limited time, right? So some of us, and some of us also build a powerful presence on one platform versus others. So I think that you can certainly start with one, as your main thing. But I typically like to, when I work with clients who are really hungry, who really want to make a difference, and if you can actually put in, a certain amount of time per week, I recommend three. I say let's do three different platforms. Let's pick one as your primary. So one is your primary, okay, which is 80% of your time. So for me, actually, that's LinkedIn. Here I am on Twitter, but actually, I don't spend as much time on Twitter. For me, my breakdown is I spend about 80% of my time on LinkedIn. I spent about 15% of my time on Twitter, and then I spend about 5% of my time on Instagram. That's my three main areas, and where I'm using them to build my business. So but other people, they just put 100% of their time and energy into one space, whether it's Twitter or LinkedIn or Instagram. I mean, the truth is, you can build a business anywhere. I have a friend who actually, she's a Pinterest person of all places, Pinterest, right? But she has 4 million followers. And so she's built up a huge brand on that platform, and it's done well for her. So, she's pretty happy with having done that. And, you can build, there's people who are good at YouTube, there's other people who are good at Clubhouse. I also worked with a lot of people on Clubhouse to build a brand, and I've actually been able to monetize Clubhouse for my business as well. And people are like, oh, poo poo on Clubhouse, or poo poo on Pinterest, or who cares about, Snapchat or whatever. But there are people out there who have done this. They've built brands, and they've built money, and they've built a platform on those places. It's just a question of learning how to do them right, working with experts who can teach you how to do this stuff, and then making that impact, and putting the work into leveraging it. For LinkedIn specifically, knowing the algorithm goes a long way to leveraging the platform to optimize your results. On Twitter, leveraging the culture of Twitter, knowing how it works in terms of hashtags and DMs, and getting people's attention will go a long way to making that impact. So, yeah, I think that's really, really important. Sampar, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. So, Bobby, the only point that I like to add here is that for a lot of people, it is that procrastination that holds them back. What will people think? My language is not good. Everything is out there already. I don't have anything new to say. And I think you mentioned this somewhere in the earlier discussion as well, that on a platform like LinkedIn, 98% people do not create content just with this inhibition of not going out there. To build your personal brand, to get those paid gigs, etc., you need to be out there. Only when you're visible will something happen. I have a quote that I very religiously follow, which says, opportunity dances with those already on the dance floor. So unless you're down there, opportunity is not going to be there. So yes, you will have to overcome that procrastination. Go ahead and do it. And for people to understand that it is absolutely nervous, it's okay to be nervous, okay to be not sure about it. I'm sure with the kind of following that you have here, and even with the number of sessions that I have done, I'm still as nervous when I go up on stage. So it's absolutely okay. It's okay to mess up once in a while. Nobody is God here. So that's where people need to accept that it's okay to be normal. So the bottom line is, stop procrastinating, start doing. If you fail once, no issues, keep going. You'll get where you have to. So yes, those are my 2 cents. Thank you so much.
Amen to that, brother. I mean, I love that idea. And it's funny. My email signature says, "If opportunity doesn't knock, build a door." I mean, the truth is, yes, the biggest challenge that holds us back, I would say, is uncertainty. Right? Uncertainty, which feeds into doubts, which feeds into fears, which feeds into so many different things. Because they are not sure. Well, and that mindset piece becomes a big issue, right? Or who am I to speak? Or do I have a story? Or what kind of message do I have? Or do they really want to hear my TED talk? Do they really want to pay me to speak? And again, that's why we're having that segue nicely to that workshop we're doing. The workshop I'm doing on August 10th, which is in the feed above, in the nest above. You can see, just click the link and you can see what we're doing. But we're talking about this because a lot of people have that mindset that holds them back. And the truth is, there's certain things that hold people back. One is they're not really clear on what their topic or story or idea is going to be, is one. Number two, they're like, well, do I even deserve to be here? Do I even deserve to get on the TEDx stage? Do I even deserve to get on and get paid for speaking? And I'm going to tell you that right now, every single one of you has a story, a purpose, and a legacy that the world needs to hear. I look at your profiles right now and I see you're all sharing content, you're all sharing knowledge, and you all have a message for the world. In fact, the reason I joined Twitter way back in the day. So I joined Twitter in 2010. And I joined it because someone told me I was actually speaking at an event, a paid speaking event, and they said, Bob, you should be on Twitter. I was like, oh, Twitter. I don't want to be on Twitter. Twitter's for like celebrities and politicians and sports heroes. I don't want to be on Twitter. But then she said, Bobby, do you have a message for the world? I'm like, well, yeah, I'm a speaker. Of course I have a message for the world. She's like, then you got to get on Twitter. I'm like, okay. And so I got on Twitter and I started sharing my message for the world. And every single one of you has a message too. And so, it's very easy if you work with someone like myself or work with people to carve out what are those 2, 3, 5 topics that you can really put out there and deliver with excellence and people would want to hear. What are the 2 or 3 TEDx talk topics or titles from your life story that we can extract to help you put that together in a fantastic pitch that's going to get people's attention and you're going to motivate the world. So for me, that's if we understand the fact there's uncertainty with that, if we understand that there is doubts and fears, it's just imagine what you could do if you can just have 30 seconds of courage to put yourself out there and pitch or share an idea. I mean, even a TEDx thing, like one of the things I tell people in the TEDx program that I was running with the Medici community, Samantha Postman, who's one of our co-hosts for Power Connection Chat. I taught, I just said, put your idea out there. Just ask people for feedback. Even the act of doing that goes a long way to telling the world, hey, I have a TEDx in me, and I want to share with the world my story, and that goes a long way. Similarly, putting it out there here are the topics I want to work on in terms of delivering, speeches or delivering training for folks as part of the whole process to become a paid speaker. So yeah, the doubt and the fears are real, and that's okay. It's okay. It's okay to feel lost. It's okay to feel stuck. It's okay to feel unsure. It's not okay to do nothing about it, right? You have a chance to do something about it. So I encourage you all to get out there, put that message out there, and do something about it, and become a paid speaker and get that TEDx talk. So, again, if you're loving this talk, please come up on stage, share your thoughts, ask a question. I'm here, and Indra and Chris and Sampark are all here. There's people in the audience who want to be part of this conversation. You're all welcome to share in the knowledge and to ask questions, because I'll be here for probably another 30 minutes, and I'm happy to answer any question I have about becoming a paid speaker or getting a TEDx talk. Indra, please go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to just also say, Bobby, I actually would have been putting together my submission package to be a TEDx speaker, but at that time, I got my movie that I started in development phase, so I'm a little bit distracted on on the TEDx speaking route, but I get plenty of practice as in hosting my own Twitter spaces, and of course, you know. Hosting my shows and smaller speaking events. But I did want to say that one thing that I really encourage people to do is to practice at any opportunity that you have to speak, because a lot of it is that mindset. And here I am, the positivity vibe tribe girl, talking about mindset. But it really is so important to really believe in yourself and to just start. A lot of people in my Twitter spaces, I encourage first time speakers to just come up and just introduce yourself and maybe share something that you've listened to in the space, because then it takes the emphasis off you and being self conscious, and you're talking about something that you just heard in the space. And then everybody, it's almost like a trick, a listening trick, that you think, oh, everybody's going to be looking over at that person, not narrowing in at me. And it has actually worked for a lot of people, and they've thanked me, and I've got so many DMs about it, because it's really just about uh, just taking those first steps and just saying something simple. It doesn't have to be long. And actually, a lot of the time, for many speakers, particularly in Twitter spaces and social audio, a minute to a minute and a half, maximum 2 minutes, is actually so much more effective to just get your message across and communicate, who you are and introduce yourself. And if there's something little and catchy about your brand, the way I kind of slipped in positivity vibe tribe earlier in a kind of a natural sort of organic. Bobby's laughing. Kind of a way that, also maybe if somebody is interested in your brand or in something that you just said, they might go to your profile, they might even follow you, they might reach out to you in a DM. So that's just some of my thoughts on that, Bobby.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people with their hands up, which is great. So we'll get to them in a second. One thing I just want to add is, Indra, I know you're busy with your movie, but I'm going to challenge you to do exactly what you said, which is carve out that time, right? So if you can take an hour out of your week and put together a couple of ideas of what you think would make a great TEDx talk, right? You put it out there on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and get people to respond to you. And the next week, you take another hour and you research TEDx events that are out there that you think might have a theme that aligns with you, then you can get there. So while you're making your movie, Indra, you can also move forward on the TEDx stuff. It's just a question of carving out the time. So if you can put an hour per week, for the next 2-3 weeks while you're doing this stuff, you can still progress on the TEDx journey. So just something to keep in mind. With that, let's go to Birgit. Welcome to the stage. I'm happy to have you here. I'd love to hear your thoughts today.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Bobby. And thank you to all the speakers so far. I know we've been following each other for a while now. I'm like, I'm going to hop in and see and listen. And to be honest, I've learned a few tips here today. I actually joined Twitter. I've been on Twitter. However, I started using Twitter late 2020 just to vent about, the healthcare crisis and all that. And somehow I've been able to create a pathway when it comes to advocating for nurses and healthcare workers in general. And I've actually started thinking about I've always thought about being a TED Talk speaker and all that, but I it's just at the back there. I've not actively worked towards it. So I'm here listening to the tips. So I just want to say thank you for this platform. And even in my current role as a nurse advocate, I've gotten quite a few speaking gigs. And they're all from Twitter. And I'm starting to think along that line of creating a career. Just trying to work towards it to see how I can leverage my time on Twitter to making some income as well. So yeah, thank you so much for this space. I'm learning.
Yeah, and at first I want to say thank you so much for sharing your message and advocating for nurses. I think the work you're doing is amazing, and I love your tweets, and I support you fully on that. And I think that you've done a really good job of creating a thought leadership brand on Twitter around nursing and healthcare, and so people see you as that. And that's one of the best ways to get speaking gigs and to get TEDx talks. So when you think about that, I think one of the ways to move forward is from your experience. I mean, even the idea of being a nurse and sharing your message on Twitter, that's a TEDx talk, right? And getting the influence and getting those opportunities. I think that's a TEDx talk in itself. But I think that all you got to do is focus and hone in. What are those stories, or because you share stories too, and so sharing those stories in pieces that are what's going to make a TEDx talks are based on stories. So there's a story with a key insight that's unique or a unique slant on it. That's what's going to get you a TEDx talk. And then as for this paid speaking gigs, yeah, I think it's more about just having a clear brand or speaker sheet or website or landing page that shows, okay, here's the things I talk about, here's how I help organizations. But yeah, my first paid speaking gig in social media came off of Twitter. So, my story is that I launched. So on March 5th, 2011, which is when I launched my newsletter, my Facebook page, my Twitter strategy to try to get speaking gigs and to build my speaker profile. And it was the same day I did my first TEDx talk of the 5 I've done. And what happened was, after 6 months on Twitter, I had about 5,000 followers, and someone said, "Bobby, we love what you talk about. Can you come in and do a talk for us at our organization on leadership?" It was I remember it was Autism Ontario, and I was like, "Of course I can. I'd love to." And that was the start of realizing, oh my God, Twitter is amazing. Put that message out there, and people will see it. And next thing you know, you're doing all these talks. So it was fantastic. So this Twitter's a great place to build that brand. So I love your message. Feel free to stay on stage, continue asking questions or sharing knowledge. Other people have their hands up. I see Christopher has his hand up. Mike has his hand up too, but Mike was here first. So maybe Christopher, wait for a second. Mike, Why don't you go ahead with your question or comment?
Hey, Bobby. Thanks for hosting this space. I always like your positive energy, as well as your common sense and sensible thinking. I have two questions. Um, First of all, you said that you rejected some TED Talks in the past. So I was curious about that. And second question is a little bit off topic, but you said you've dabbled in comedy before, and I'd like to know more about that. Thanks.
Okay, but I'm not going to promise to be funny. I'm just going to share what I did. So let's start with the first question, which is yeah, so I rejected 3 TEDx talks. Why? Because some TEDx talks are shitty. Like they're terribly organized. Like they're just really not good for your brand. And so, there was one I remember, and it was tough because it was my alma mater. I went to McGill University. I went to McMaster for my MBA, and McMaster University because I'm an alumni. They're, oh, we need to get alumni come do a TED talk, and they said, Bobby, we'd love to have you do a TED talk. There's no application required. And then I said, oh, great. Where's your website? And then they didn't have a website. I said, okay, do you have anything? Oh yeah. They're like, oh yeah, we have a Facebook page. I said, oh, okay. So I went to the Facebook page, and I was like, there's nothing here, guys. This is like really crappy site. And then I asked the question that's really important, which is, are you going to videotape these things? Do you have any videos of previous talks? And they're like, oh, and then we do have some videos of old talks. I said, great, I want to see, because one of the big goals of doing a TEDx talk is you want the video. Okay, the video is huge. And if you look at my first TEDx talk, which was on March 2011, they had a 3-camera system, right? Fantastic. And that's a great marketing tool. And so McMaster didn't have any sort of strategic stuff, and they weren't prepared. There was no website. I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this. Not doing this. The other thing is to consider is like, what's the caliber of the speakers? Because there's 2 ways. Either you're the star of the show, right, and the caliber of speakers is not very low. It's pretty low, and you're like the star, which is okay. And or other times it's a whole bunch of really amazing people. And you're like, wow, I'm part of a group of amazing people. That's pretty good too. So you have to decide what works for you. Also, the other thing I think about is the target of the audience, right? So sometimes the target's not what you want, right? So that's another thing to consider. So that's why I rejected those other ones, mostly because to me it looked like they're poorly organized. They're coming. The biggest sign they're disorganized is when they come at you a month before the event. Hey, come speak on our stage. It's like it's a month away. Like, are you kidding me? The best ones I saw were they asked me like 9 months in advance, right? And that was great. They were super organized. The 4th TEDx talk I did, it was at U of T Scarborough campus, and I'm being really Canadian Torontonian here, because most of you are not from Canada, but U of T Scarborough campus is not the best campus. It's like well, in my circle, it's like, oh god, it's like a secondary campus. But they were so organized; it was amazing. I loved it, and we had a really great time. So, and that talk went really, really well. And then the other question was about the comedy experience. Yeah, so I've always dabbled in comedy, starting with musical theater in high school and university. I did a lot of operettas and musical theater, and had a lot of fun playing comedic roles. I did improv and theater sports in university, and then I was part of a sketch comedy troupe later on. So I'm a graduate of Second City's conservatory program, so I love that stuff. And the whole acting and improv and performance has certainly led to understanding my personal brand being one of performance and being on stage. And so that certainly helped me become a professional speaker 17 years ago, because I was like, well, you know what? I'm comfortable on stage. I can be funny on stage. I think being a motivational speaker can be a really, really good thing. And so that's kind of how I got started on comedy and sketch comedy for the most part. Yeah, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great growth learning experience for me. So thanks for that question. And thanks also for the kind comment about being sensible, common sense kind of guy. I think I try to be, like there's a lot of things that don't make sense to me, and I often share them on Twitter, so I appreciate that. Well, again, we're talking about how to become a paid speaker and how to land a TEDx talk this year. This is the Power Connection Chat. We're here every week at 11:15 a.m. on Eastern on Mondays. And if you want to ask a question, you want to come on stage, this is your chance. I'm here. I'm happy to help you. You all have a message. You all have a TEDx talk in you. You all have uh, uh, an idea. You all have purpose and stories and legacies that we can actually get you paid speaking for. So if you're interested in becoming paid this year, or you want to land a TEDx talk this year, click the link above and join our workshop. That's free. Or DM me if you want to get even more into this, whether you want one-on-one coaching or something like that. With that, let's go to Christopher. Welcome.
Well, greetings, Bobby. Um, I echo what you were saying about uh, improv. Improv is fabulous training for just about everything. My idea for a TEDx talk would be leading from curiosity. Um,
Sorry, you want my feedback on that, or you want to keep going? Or just explain that to me, please, a little bit more.
sure. I've always been a really curious person. However, it wasn't until later in my career path where I actually thought, oh, I can actually be a leader without being loud. Oh, if I can help people get past this point of stuck in helping them understand technology or engagement or whatever problem they're facing, if I can help them past that, then that does lend itself to a certain definition of leadership. So it's not leading loudly, but leading from a place of curiosity. I wonder how we can solve that. Well, let's work on it.
Okay, so here's my feedback for you. So, what's the title of your TED Talk, Christopher?
Gee, that's a really tough question.
Yeah, I know, but just work, just humor me for a second. So, what would you call it? Right? I want to do a TED Talk on what? What's it going to be? I think you said leading with curiosity.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not enough.
All right.
Okay, because I'm quite sure if you Googled it, there are TED Talks on leadership and curiosity, right? So how do you make your TED Talk unique? The best way to make it unique is with your story, right? There's got to be something within your story. And usually, what I do when I work with clients or in my TEDx program, I'll say, I want you to give me your entire life story. And the reason I do that is because if you lay down your entire life story from beginning to end, like as a child all the way to where you are now, what I find is that there are amazing moments and lessons within the life story that we can extract and turn that into a TED Talk. So maybe maybe there's a moment. I'm making this up, Christopher. So just bear with me. Maybe there's a moment where you were curious and explored a cave, and you got attacked by bats. And I'm totally making this up. I'm improvising here now. Right? You got attacked by bats, got a bloody nose, were injured, but it taught you something, right? So then the TEDx talk about curiosity and leadership is not called that. It's called you uh, going into a bat cave and getting a bloody nose. And why that was good for you. And so what you do is with your TEDx pitch or your title, you come up with something that is really attention grabbing. It makes people say, "Oh, I want to know more about what that is. What's he talking about? Oh my gosh!" As opposed to just my TEDx talk idea is curiosity about and learning, right? So that's what I would advise on. You have to kind of hone that and figure out what's the story behind your TEDx talk, behind your idea. Usually, the TEDx talks that are unique are because they come from a unique story or a unique slant of an idea. So another idea that's out there, you could say, I want to talk about sales, the importance of sales. Well, again, everyone knows that, but this person did a TEDx talk called The Ninjutsu of Sales, which is basically taking the ninja philosophy and applying it to sales. Now, that's interesting. That's a unique slant. So what I would suggest you do is either come up with a unique slant to your curiosity and leadership, or leverage your story and use that story as the pitch to get people's attention. Make sense?
Absolutely. And all right, I do want to echo something else that you were saying earlier. So I've been working in the background for TEDx Detroit for just about a decade. And yes, we work with speakers 6 months out. So that's the cutoff for our application process for speakers. And yeah, they have to have their stuff pretty much together. Now, working behind the scenes and developing a TEDx talk of my own, yeah, those are two different things.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, when you run an event, I mean, obviously becoming a speaker on your own TEDx stage is hard. Christopher, you know what? People are here listening, and when is this TEDx event coming up next, and when can we apply for it?
Well, TEDx Detroit is October 26th in Detroit. The speaker applications are closed. However, we're looking for sponsors. We're looking for, hey, if you just want a ticket, it will be at the Music Hall in Detroit, which is a very storied venue. So many musical acts, as they have gone around the country, have played at the Music Hall in Detroit. So, Bobby, I would invite you to, visit your neighbor to the, well, kind of north-ish, south-ish, and come on over. Go to TEDx Detroit in October.
Yeah, and if you ever want to invite me to speak there, just let me know, man. See ya for 2023, baby. I got 3 TEDx talks in my back pocket, ready to like put it out there and share with the world. So,
Oh,
yeah, and actually Detroit's not that far. I mean, I'm in Toronto, so drive over to Windsor, cut across there, and then I'm in Detroit, right? It's like
absolutely.
it's 4 or 5 hours away. That's nothing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
But yes,
Actually, you know what? I'm taking my son across the border to, I think it's a place called Port Huron. I'm not sure where that is, but
it is.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm taking him to a Rubik's Cube competition. He's really gotten a Rubik's Cube lately. He's 13 now, and he can solve the cube. His record is 18 seconds, so he wants to enter competitions now. So I'm taking him across the border to this event in a couple weeks. So that's kind of exciting for him. Yeah, so I'm happy to go to Detroit sometime. That'd be fun. I'd love that. Thanks for the invite. Mike, did you have a comment? Do you want to say something? Or no? Mike, did you have a comment? I thought your hand was up for a second there.
Not at this moment, but I'm enjoying listening. And I do have a comment right now, and that is that I always love your spaces because they're always very well organized, and you command the room so well. So thanks for that.
Well, I command the room because of my imposing presence. I'm 6'2", 250 pounds. Does that read on on digital? I don't even know. No, I think. I mean, I had a lot of practice on Clubhouse. So on Clubhouse, during the pandemic when I was like lonely and in my house and locked down, I was on Clubhouse and I spent 10,000 hours there having conversations with people while I did dishes, while I did laundry, and I got really good at organizing, social audio events. So now I run events here. I run an event on Clubhouse every week. I run an event on LinkedIn Audio on Tuesdays tomorrow. So you're always more than welcome to join me on those things. And I think that's important. And I even train people on how to use social audio and how to run these types of rooms so that you can actually build a business and do some great stuff and build communities. So you can do great stuff with it. So we're talking about how to become a paid speaker and land a TEDx talk this year. I'm doing a workshop on August 10th. That's free. You can join us on how to become a TEDx speaker and how to become an iconic CEO for your business or your brand, for your thought leader brand. And that's on August 10th. It's actually the day after I come back from Costa Rica because I'll be gone for about 9 days. You're welcome to check that out and click the link and just say yes to the LinkedIn invite, and we'd love to have you be part of that event. And again, I'm happy to share knowledge and answer your questions on how to get TEDx Talks, how to become a paid speaker. I'm going to repeat a few things. One is getting clarity on your speaker brand. What is your speaker brand story of who you are and who you serve and why you do what you do? That's an important piece. Like if you go to my website, my main company website called rayon.com, you'll see a video called Every Person Has a Story, Purpose, and Legacy. Now, I made that video about, I think, 7 years ago, but it's still relevant. It's pretty much the story of who I am and what I do. And it's still relevant today and still resonates with me. And so every one of you should have one of these things. Every one of you should have a 3 to 5 minute video telling us your personal branded life story, whatever it might be. So if you haven't done that, get on it, put one together, put it on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, and then get feedback. Send it to me. I'll give you feedback. But put one of those things together because it goes a long way to showcasing who you are. The second thing I think about is who's your target audience, because that's gonna tell you where you want to spend your time from a digital presence perspective. I mean, Twitter and LinkedIn are two of the best places to build thought leadership. There's two of the best places to build relationships and access people. And so, if you're going to start with two, those are two places to go for sure. Definitely those two. And, I love them for different reasons. I mean, LinkedIn, of course, the access to the professional workplace and the context of professional networking is huge there. Twitter, I love because it doesn't have the same kind of crazy algorithmic features that Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram have. It's really hard. Like, you have to understand the algorithm far better in order to game it. Whereas on Twitter, it's not so much. Just put together great content, build relationships, leverage the hashtags, and you can start building a pretty strong brand on Twitter. So I love that about Twitter. I also love Twitter for its responsiveness, the ability to access people, anyone, right? And I think that's a great way to build relationships. So, so when you're trying to build a speaking gig, make sure and get TEDx talks, make sure you understand the target audience. And then the other thing that comes into play that a lot of people don't realize is the pitch, right? What is your email pitch? What's the email subject line? What do you say in the email? When you DM people, what do you say? Do you have a website? Do you have a speaker sheet? Do you have an idea? How you pitch and build relationships will go a long way to getting you the paid speaking gigs and the TEDx talks. And then the last thing is overcoming the uncertainty with mindset, right? We all have mindset issues and we all think, oh, who am I to speak, or who am I to do a TEDx talk, or who am I to get paid for stuff? But if you position yourself and you work on your brand and you get clarity in who you are and you know your story, purpose, and legacy, then I guarantee you I can help you build a thought leadership brand for yourself that's going to get you speaking gigs, that's going to get you TEDx talk, it's going to get you a book deal, it's going to get you those media appearances, because that's where you can start to really leverage the thought leadership brand that you build for yourself. And they're all interrelated, right? Number one, get clarity on your personal brand, who you are, clarity, focus, and alignment on what you're trying to do, who your target audience is. Then you build a thought leadership brand through building meaningful relationships, through content creation, through speaking, through storytelling, through work on your mindset and confidence, and focusing that brand on that target audience to build it up, so that at a certain point you build followers, you build connections, you build community, and now you have a thought leadership brand that's going to get you opportunities. And that's the path. And most people can't do it by themselves. And that goes with anything, whether you're trying to get a TEDx talk, or you're trying to lose weight, or you're trying to pass that exam. Working with people, working in a group, having accountability, having focus. These are things that are going to help you get to that next level. And that's why I always recommend coaching. I have my own coach. I have two coaches. I have a business coach, and I have a health and wellness coach. And everyone should have a coach. And I coach people too, because coaching provides focus, accountability, and 10xing your results. But also being part of a group or a community goes a long way too. So I have my TEDx community, I have my speaker community, I have my thought leadership brand community. These communities are ways for us to help us stay accountable, to crowdsource, to get support, to ask questions. And that's why, again, a group is also important too. So if anybody has any questions about TEDx talks or speaking gigs and getting paid or negotiating, whatever it might be, this is your chance to come on stage and ask a question. Otherwise, I'd love to see if anyone on stage either has a question or has a comment.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is Professor Chris Maffidon out of London. I just wanted to add that each time I share a video link from a Facebook Live or Instagram and then cross post it to my LinkedIn page, there's almost always a problem. But if it's YouTube or TikTok, it just takes the video and it goes universal. I want to hear your experience on this, because prior to my TEDx talk in Wales, we did a very brief video that went viral because we stuck it in YouTube. Thank you.
Yeah, so the thing with video content, right? I mean, whether you put a video on YouTube or on TikTok or LinkedIn or Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I mean, gosh, there's so many different places to put videos on. It's very hard to say that what goes viral on one platform will go viral on a second platform. It's kind of a weird thing about these platforms, right? There's no guarantee that the virality of one video on one platform will go somewhere else. So I've had a video that I did on LinkedIn, didn't do well, but then I put it on Instagram, and all of a sudden it took off. I had a video on Twitter that did really well, I put it on LinkedIn, didn't go. And so, what I would say to people is, continue to share videos, continue to repurpose videos, because you never know what's going to land or click. So what I typically do is I will make a video on LinkedIn. So I'll make it on LinkedIn. I usually make them a minute long, and I'll put it there. And then I'll repurpose that on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, and I'll repurpose it on those other platforms. But LinkedIn is my primary place. I'm actually not on TikTok yet, but at some point I probably will join and share knowledge there too, because it is a very viral, organic place. So I think that a lot of my content will do well there because they're usually short bits. But I think that it's important to continue to share content, keep creating those videos, keep sharing knowledge, keep helping your audience, right? I mean, people always say, well, how do you come with your ideas, Bobby? Well, like I talk about networking and thought leadership and digital content and meaningful relationships and mindset and whatever, and personal branding, whatever it might be. But the truth is, I've done videos on the same topics over and over again, right? So, if I want to do a video on my 3 big tips to get a TEDx talk this year, I probably have done that 3 or 4 times. I've probably done videos on networking and building relationships and authentic connection dozens of times, right? I just do the same video because the other thing is people don't remember stuff, right? I mean, a LinkedIn post, for example, lasts in the feed for 2 months. Now, Twitter obviously lasts forever, but you can still take a video or a post on Twitter. And there's people I know that strategically they take the same tweet and they tweet it again a week later. That's okay. Twitter has a less of a memory, right? So you can take a same powerful tweet and tweet it once a week if you want to. I mean, I know I have my one viral tweet on my pinned post about the listening to people without putting them down. But I've never actually, and sometimes I repeat that on Twitter or on LinkedIn and whatnot, but it doesn't do as well as this one. So I hold on to this one tweet. But some people tweet the same stuff. We share the same content over and over again, and you can keep doing that. But keep working at it. You never know what's going to stick. But as long as you work on your brand, you understand the different platforms, you will be able to land something. Indra, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, Bobby, I have some ideas for Professor Chris. I have noticed that it's not just LinkedIn that sometimes the videos content doesn't stick, because I was actually experimenting with short form, longer forms, all different types of format. The thing that I have found is that I started using instead of, and I don't know if it's something to do with Facebook Live, or Instagram Live, or some of the other you know platforms, but I found that they are a little bit unstable, and so I started using another tool. I use StreamYard for my lives, and I have found that that actually sticks if you're using something like StreamYard, wherever it's going to, because the thing is that you can just multiple live stream at the same time rather than sharing. And I always think, like, let's be efficient, everybody. Like, if we're going to put out a message, rather than, I mean, you can do it, in one place and then share it across platforms. And sometimes that does happen with some content. But if you are live streaming or doing a Facebook Live, then if you head over to StreamYard, you can just hit the buttons and you can just, live stream everywhere. You can be on um, you know, Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and the other great thing is I have a Facebook community for my Positivity Vibe Tribe, so that live streams there and to my personal page as well. So you're just going across everywhere, and you're hitting even the double accounts that you have. So I have found that is really worth paying the monthly membership for StreamYard. I've tried many different live streaming platforms, including just directly from Facebook Live, even Instagram. I mean, you're limited with some of these, but StreamYard has been the most successful. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, so I think that's a great point. So StreamYard is one that works. There's another one called Riverside, another one called I use Restream. And so when you do any sort of video, if you do a Facebook Live or you do an Instagram Live, and you record it and you save it, you can then take the exact same video and live stream it on other platforms. So Restream allows me to share a live stream and make it seem live on LinkedIn and on Twitter and on Facebook at the same time. So those are great tools to get your message out and to get new followers and to get people to see and hear your message. So I love that. Thank you so much for that. We have a couple of new people on stage, so I'm excited to see new people with new questions or insights. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it. Is it Amelia? Please say hello and introduce yourself and let me know if I'm saying your name properly. And please share your thought or your comment or question.
Hi, thank you very much for inviting me and for allowing me to speak. I just had a question. I'm very new to this, and I'd really like to be a TED talker or speaker one of the days. I have a lot of stories to share, but I just wanted to find out with the application processes, how often do they happen in a year, for instance? And also, are there any go tos or no go areas in terms of a topic of choice or a proposal that one can send through? And what are the, how do I put it? What are the best things that we can do in terms of getting picked for a topic? And I think the last question I have also is in terms of funding. Say, for instance, a TED Talk is being held in, like now, being held in the USA, and I'm from Africa, Zambia to be specific. Do we get funding, or does one have to make their way through that side? So, for instance, if my proposal gets picked, will I be awarded the opportunity for transportation, accommodation, or do I now have to source funding for those areas? Thank you very much.
Okay, lots of questions here, so hopefully I can answer them all, and that's why I got to take my workshop. But let me see if I can get to this. So, um, I'm going to answer the last question first, which is, generally speaking, the culture of TED is that when you get a TEDx talk, they don't pay you and they don't provide you for transportation, so you got to fund yourself. So one of my friends who was dying to do a TED talk, I told her, just she had contact in Zurich. She was from Canada, but she had a contact in Zurich who was running a TEDx event. I said, look, if you can get to Zurich and you want to go visit people and you want a TEDx talk on your resume, then just go do it. And she did. She actually got a TEDx talk there, and she went to Zurich for TEDx Zurich. So I think that worked well for her. But when I did my TEDx talk and I did one in Windsor, I'd take the train, book a hotel, and out of my own pocket. But it was a talk that I really wanted to do, and so I did, and that's fine. That's why a lot of people look for local ones. The other question was around the how often to the application process. So most TEDx talks are once a year, right? The event organizers can't do more than once per year. They do once per year. And, it's very easy to look things up. If you go to the TED.com website or if you Google it, you can actually find lots of TEDx events in your local area, including in Africa too, that might be going on. And what's even better is that if you don't see any TEDx event in your local area, you can actually organize one yourself, right? You can actually apply to organize one. There are certain restrictions that they have on that. Like when you do a first TEDx talk, it's a very small, intimate affair. I think there's a cap on the audience for like 100 people, but the more you do it, the audience is allowed to be increased a little bit, so to like 300 and 900 and things like that. So you can certainly host your own, but the applications are usually, most TEDx events have applications. We heard from Christopher, who was like 9 months in advance. So, he's doing his Detroit one, I believe it was in October. So, somewhere in January, you should look it up to see if he has, applications ready for his event. I think that'll go a long way too. Now, I think I forgot some of the other questions. So please remind me of the other questions you had. Amelia, that's for you. So what question you asked a bunch of questions, so I think I missed a couple. Please go ahead.
Yes, I think the most pertinent one I had was the no-go areas in terms of proposals. What topics would TEDx not allow, or what should one be mindful of not wanting to speak of or engage about? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, TED originally stood for Technology, Entertainment, and Design. And so a lot of them were very creative, and a lot of them were very scientific. So it was a combination of scientific and creativity and great ideas. Now, over the years, it depends on the TEDx event, but the general rule with no notes for TEDx events are things that are not backed by science, right? So if you want to talk astrology, or if you want to talk something that's woo woo or holistic or whatever, or spiritual or whatever it might be, those are typically not really supported. Now there may be a TEDx event where they could say we want to run a TEDx event and we're open to those types of talks, but the problem is TED is very strict with how they use their branding, and so they probably, if someone ran an event like that, TEDx will probably shut it down, so you can't do it anymore. So you have to be really mindful of that. So whenever I work with people and they have something that I consider as kind of holistic or woo woo, I'll say, look, can you put some data behind this? Like, so if you're going to do that, what's the story? What's the data? because if you don't have a story or data, it's going to be way harder for you to have that TEDx talk accepted. And I think another thing you asked was kind of what help a TEDx talk get accepted? Well, and here's where people get it wrong: a strong idea that's simple but unique and different, and a title that's tantalizing that gets their attention. So when I pitched the history and mystery of hugs, they're like, "Oh man, what is that all about, Bobby?" Okay, well let me tell you what my pitch is, and I explained it very very simple. And in doing so, they're like, "This is really great." And I did a video pitch for that one. They called me the next day and they said, "We love this. We want you to come in." So simplicity and uniqueness are the two things you want to do it. Now, what's interesting is that's also why it's so hard, because most people when they pitch, they actually don't have the right idea or the right way to do it. So that's ergo my workshop and ergo why I coach people, is because it takes time. One of my TEDx clients, I worked with her one-on-one, and it took us 5 1-hour sessions over like 2 months, because I only met her like once every like 2-3 weeks, to hone in on the exact TED topic that she could pitch. Because one of the biggest things that people do wrong with TED, and another little tip for you guys, is people want to share their entire life story as for their TEDx talk pitch. That's actually the wrong way to go. It's the TEDx talks are 18 minutes or less. You cannot share your entire life story in those things. What you want to do is share a story from your life that's a portion of your story. That's what you want to do. And that's going to go a long way to getting the TEDx talk. It's a portion of your life that you share a story with a really cool idea that's going to get their attention. Does that help? Awesome. All right, so we're talking about how to become a paid speaker and how to land a TEDx talk. I'm doing a workshop on August 10th. I'd love for you to check
It
that out
helps a
on the link
lot,
above.
Bob. Thank you so much. And I'll be tuning in on the 10th of August.
Sweet. I'm glad to hear that. Next up is Asma.
Definitely.
Please
Thank
go ahead
you.
with your question or
Thank
comment.
you.
Asma, go ahead.
Hello. Yeah. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for this space and for the questions from Amelia. I wanted to ask you about the TED Talks around the world. Or sorry, the TEDx around the world. That has been, I think, sponsored by TEDx itself. So the application and also the like, how can we get to the TEDx itself, like the international one, not the local ones around the areas?
Yeah, so I mean, so a bunch of things here. So first off, if you want to host a TEDx event in your area, you can apply through TED.com and put together an organization group that can host a TEDx event. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you want to go to a TEDx event anywhere around the world, I mean, they often have applications and registrations for being in the audience. Now, for the actual main stage international TED.com one, those ones are usually special invite only, and they're usually comprised of either very high dignitary VIPs or people who run TEDx events. So one of the benefits of actually running a TEDx event is you actually can get invited to go to the TED.com one. I think the one that's coming up soon, there's one in Vancouver on the west coast of Canada that's happening, and the people in that audience, you can still apply to be in the audience, but most of the people in the audience are going to be TEDx organizers. So there's a benefit to organize your own TEDx event because you can be part of that community and access them. So that's something you can also do. Did I answer all your questions?
Yes, perfectly. I don't know if you guys spoken about the thing that is going on the 10th of August or not yet, but if you could elaborate a little bit, thank you.
Yeah, sure. So I love a segue to my events. So up on top, I'm running. So actually, I'll be very transparent. Carlos Adele is actually my business coach. So I've been working with him since last year. He's a great guy, very knowledgeable about a lot of things. And he's really big on helping people become iconic CEOs and building their brand. And particularly, he was helping me with sales. That was the thing that I was trying to work on. But he liked my stuff so much. He's like, Bobby, let's collaborate on something. So we're trying to do this whole thing where we're trying to help people become an iconic CEO. And what we mean by that iconic CEO is a CEO that has impact and business results, but at the same time has alignment and life balance. Because a lot of CEOs out there, or brands out there, or people out there, they're burnt out and they don't have the right alignment with their family, their friends, their social life, their health, or whatever it might be. And so the idea of becoming an iconic CEO is to have that balance as someone who has impact, but someone who also has balance and alignment. And then one of the ways to become an iconic CEO is that TEDx Talks is a huge part of it, right? So TEDx Talks is a huge part of building a thought leadership brand for yourself. Whether you have a book or a TEDx Talk or a program, or you have some accolades or titles, whatever it might be, but TEDx Talk is a huge part of your brand. And so this workshop, I'm going to take people through the entire process of how to get a TEDx Talk. What are some of the things you got to consider? And obviously, I'm going to invite them to do more work with me, or whatever they might want to do. But I'm going to give them some really great knowledge in that. So the session is 90 minutes long. It's a workshop format. Carlos and I are both going to share stuff about iconic CEO, about how to get a TEDx Talk, about how to build a thought leadership brand, and we're going to take all the questions and help you guys get to that next level. So, and it's free. So definitely mark that in your books. Click on the link and say yes to the LinkedIn invite, and you probably get an email letting you know about the event, and we'd love to have you there. So hope that helps, and I'm excited to help people with that, because I think that and one thing is
Absolutely fun.
and one
Yes,
thing I'll
go
also
ahead.
add is I ran a similar program with Samantha Postman, the Medici Group, and one of the things I tell people is that I've been doing this for a long time, and in my programs, if you work through my entire methodology and all the homework that I'm going to give you, I can work with you to come up with a clear branded life story, to come up with a clear TEDx pitch, to come up with a clear paid speaking pitch, and to build your brand, to build your business. And I'm willing to guarantee it. I'm willing to guarantee I can get you a TEDx talk. I can get you paid speaking gigs. It's just a question of you doing the work. Most people don't want to do the work because it's hard, but it's value added. If you're hungry and you're willing to do the work, I can definitely help you get to that next level, whatever you want to do. So, thanks for that. Okay, well, I think we're getting near the end here, unless anyone has any other questions. We have people on stage here. If you want to ask a question, you're more than welcome, but I'm probably near the end of my space. So, anybody have any last minute thoughts or questions they want to share? More than welcome to unmic.
I wanted to thank you, Bob, and I really appreciate the effort. I would love to attend that workshop. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate that. That's great. Thanks so much for that. Anyone else want to share something?
I just wanted to jump in and just say that I really enjoyed your workshop, Bobby, and I am going to take you up on your challenge. I'm sort of multi-skilling while I'm in this space at the moment, doing a little bit of work on my movie. But I have been thinking about what you said, and I'm going to take the challenge up. And I also want to encourage anybody that's sort of on the fence, thinking about, should I do this course or not? I mean, it's free. So the thing is that it's free, so it's really just costing you your time. But I think that it can also give you some other skill sets for even social media. Even if you don't go ahead and do the TEDx talk, that's up to you. But I certainly have gleaned so much just from attending it, and Bobby does drill into a lot more detail. And I think the main thing is uh, everybody believe in yourself and believe in your abilities, and just give yourself that opportunity whenever you have something free like this that is going to be value packed, that just give yourself that opportunity and believe that you are unique and that you can benefit from just attending and investing in yourself, because I think at the end of the day we are our best investments. So thanks so much, Bobby, for allowing me to speak in the space and joining you in this chat today. And I just want to send everybody out for the day with love, light, and blessings from the Positivity Vibe Tribe.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that. Appreciate having you here. And, I'm going to miss you guys next couple weeks. I'm going to be gone to Costa Rica with my wife for our 20-year anniversary, but I will be back in August. But I want to make sure. I see Sarat is up here. Sarat, do you have a question for us before we end the room?
No, man. Thanks, Bobby. I just want to come up say hi to you and everyone in the speaker panel and everyone in the audience. Thank you for hosting. I saw you all the time, but never had a chance to say hi in person. But I'm so glad today, and love to see you, man. And congratulations to you for your 20th anniversary. More good years let come to you, and good wishes to you. Congrats and happy family, happy life. I'm happy for you. Thank you, man.
Well, I'm happy for those nice comments. And Mike, go ahead with your. I thought you had your hand up.
Thanks again, Bobby, for the space. A lot of people, when they know what they want to do with their lives, the execution more or less falls into place. So before you go, do you have any quick advice for people who are struggling as to know what they want to do with their lives? Thanks again.
Yeah, and uh, I'm gonna kind of disagree with you on that a little bit, Mike. Which is, the moment I knew what I wanted to do with the rest of my life and the purpose I had, and I wanted to start right away, I was like super excited to get going. But I also still didn't know how to do it. I still needed help from people. So having a coach, having a community, having training, having a plan, these are all things that I had to do. So I think that's really important. But that said, uh, that's why I'm a big believer in the whole personal brand journey. So I talked about this. Like, my main thing is number one, I want every single one of you to invest in your personal brand and get clarity, alignment, focus, and purpose on the direction you want to go with your life, whatever it may be, because most of us don't have that clarity. Most of us don't have that focus. Most of us don't have that direction. We don't have a clear target. We don't know clearly what our strengths are. We don't know clearly what we need to leverage. We don't know clearly how to make use of that. So once you have clarity on your personal brand and your target and your purpose and what you're doing, then now you work towards building and doing that, building that business, building that brand, building that thought leadership brand through relationship building, building meaningful relationships, content creation, digital presence, speaking, writing, storytelling, mindset, confidence, TEDx talks, whatever it might be. And you move towards that thought leadership by doing all those things and building it up, depending on what works for you and your target. And then you become a thought leader. And when you're a thought leader, then people seek you out for speaking gigs. They seek you out for books. They seek you out for panels. They seek you out for media opportunities. They seek you out to run a program or to collaborate and partner. They seek you out to work with you and hire you, and they become your clients. And so the 80% of people don't want to do the work of personal branding. It's a very deep dive process. But the question I would ask you all is, are you willing to invest 100 hours of your time for 500,000 hours of fulfillment, alignment, joy, happiness, purpose, and impact? If you are, then what's 100 hours? It's nothing. And when you start with personal branding, it's like 20, 30 hours to begin with, but just put the time in, because it's so, so worth it. Every time you invest in yourself will win. And so I'm really big on that. And so that's what I would say you should do. And for all of you who are up here, like, or who've been through this, that's what I think you should all be doing. You should all be investing in your personal brand. And I have a personal brand course online that people can access through my website, dypb.ca, or you can read articles or read books or whatever it might be. But there's ways to get there. I see Asma has her hand up again. Go ahead. What's your question?
Bobby, I don't have a question, but would you allow me to make a suggestion here for a homework to be done before the workshop?
Sure, go for it. Yeah, I'm curious now.
So I have been watching this bishop. His name is T.D. Jakes. Oh my god, especially or particularly that video, which is about how to build your vision from the ground up. So this guy in this particular video draws the line to exactly how to build your personal or how to create your personal brand. So I would suggest that to the audience or to the people that are going to attend your workshop to listen to this guy and to take even notes and to make decisions on what they want to do, like plans, and then come to your workshop. And then I think you're going to empower them then or make them or give them a plan, like a clear plan for what exactly they can do to build their identity.
Yeah, thanks, Osman, for sharing that. I appreciate that. And
You're
I'll take that
welcome.
one. I'll take that one further. Whereas if you want, if you go to my YouTube channel or to my website, you'll see my work on personal branding and my videos on personal branding. I actually have a 10-part video series, which is called how. I actually have several of them on my YouTube channel. There's one called how to figure out your personal brand. Another one's called how to become a speaker, and how to get a TEDx talk. So you can look at those free videos, and they're 1-minute videos long, so you might find them to be inspirational and helpful. I think that'll go a long way. I see that people, one person trying to get up on stage, but I'm trying to end the room now, guys. So first, but I also want to speak to Birgit if she's still here. I love your work. If there's things that we can do to collaborate together or host a space or I can support you on, one of your other spaces on healthcare or nursing, whatever, just reach out to me anytime. Let's do something, Brigitte. I'm not sure where, what you're up to.
Absolutely. I'm right here. Thanks for thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, let me know, because I remember talking to some of the other people in Toronto. Like there was Dr. Jennifer Kwan, and there was Dr. There's a bunch of other doctors too that are sharing some really great stuff. And I was like, let's do like a tweet chat and let's do a Twitter space and talk about these things. So yeah, like anytime you want to do something, reach out to me and we can have a chat and figure something out and then do a space. I'm happy to support and leverage,
I'm jealous.
my
Me
influence
too.
to do so.
I would love to host spaces with you about language, because I'm
Yeah,
here
I
in the
mean,
Middle East, and that would be amazing. Like a TEDx speaker or COO, it would be in my space about language as well. Would definitely support and help both sides. So I would love that as well. I'm jealous. If you allow that to happen, that would be
yeah,
amazing.
well, for sure. I mean, everyone can reach out to me with these things, and I'm happy to consider them. I mean, obviously my time's limited, but I'm always happy to look at different things. With Bergine
When
specifically,
are you
she's
coming back?
yeah.
When are you coming back?
Well, with Bergine specifically, she's in my town, so and maybe someday I can meet you in person. That'd be really cool too. But because I'm in Toronto, I'm downtown Toronto, Canada. So, but we can speak later on for that. With that, guys, I want to end the room. I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank the speakers on stage. I want to thank for the audience here. If there's going to be a replay and recording of this, if you found great value, you may want to take the recording and share with your audience and let them know about what they got. I recommend all of you to share what are the 1, 2, or 3 things you learned from this space today. Put that in the tweet when you share the recording of this room. Tag me in the post, because then I'll see it and then I can retweet it to my 500,000 followers, which will get you followers and build up some audience for what we're doing. Normally I'm doing this every week, but I'm actually gone the next 2 weeks, so I'll be back on, I think, August, whatever that would be, August like 15th or 16th, something like that. But in the meantime, I am doing other events. So tomorrow I'm doing a LinkedIn Mastery at 4 p.m. on LinkedIn Audio. You can check that out as well. And I'm also doing a live stream and then I'm doing another room at 12 on Clubhouse, where Carlos will be there actually. And you can actually meet Carlos in advance before this thing. We're doing the Iconic CEO a weekly Clubhouse room at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time again on Tuesday. So with that, I wish you all the best. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week and enjoy the recording. And I'll see you guys soon. Take care. So long. And
Thank
the
you
room in
too. Bye.
no problem. In the room in 3, 2, 1. Bye.